Let's now turn our attention to the Ridge Hospital, Greater Accra Regional Hospital. Officially it's called, but more informally we all call it the Ridge Hospital, right? And there was a very concerning development that came from there. A young man and some other group of young men went there, made a video that circulated widely on social media showing relatives of a patient assaulting staff, alleging delays in attending to an emergency. And let's bring you an excerpt of what happened here. Take a listen.
Needed. This is not needed. Let's just do the right thing. Somebody should just be inactive. Somebody should call somebody. Somebody should come and attend to somebody. That's it. That is all we are asking for. There should be any sense of agency, please. Mate. No, but you see, in as much as anyway, into right? It hurts. You understand? What do you mean by higher Ghana? Says a Ghana dear or be to me and nothing happens. I came here media way your minor. Yes, in conflict emergency, let's attend to them. Or the whole coach guy and who point apple. So I want to do the said then you name which was a higher Ghana. What do you mean higher Ghana? That sadly, a be obia be when you are when Unipa da hosa, also be sabia, but professionally you try to calm them down and you go and attend to the person. Let me calm down. They're going to work on it. Calm down. Oh dear, you see, somebody should be around him. I don't know. So I just say they understood. What is happening? No, but no way. See, the person go off right now. Charlie. See. Charlie, Ridge Hospital. This is happening in Ridge Hospital. I don't know.
So that was Ralph, the fellow Ghanaian, that's his name, on social media. Later, we saw images of the minister visiting the hospital. We saw him actually interact with the young man in a warm embrace, and things had happened. He's mentioned that some investigation is going to take place. But on Eyewitness News last night, we spoke to Tony Goodman, who speaks for the Health Ministry. So let's bring you some of the excerpts from that conversation where he condemned the attack and assured that a thorough inquiry will be conducted.
On our social media platforms, actually, a guy with other persons in the facility creating a scene all over. So this morning, the Honorable Minister visited the place to see for himself exactly what happened. We saw a lot of staff who were actually assaulted. One was in bandage, rotationist was in bandage, and then the information we got was there was this gentleman called Ralph who sent a patient. This patient was being taken care of, and then he didn't understand the protocols of the facility and thought that the right thing wasn't done. And then some of his colleagues entered the emergency area with their cameras and assaulted staff. We believe that no matter what, we don't want to see such a scene in the hospital. If you have issue, we find a way of addressing it. So the minister has quickly condemned the attack and has asked that some investigation should be conducted into the matter. One, regarding the delay. Two, the assault and all other security measures that was actually put in place, because it is wrong. There are other staff who were on duty. There are patients who were in there whose privacy was breached at the time. So we are looking at this issue and we don't want it to reoccur. For that matter, we have asked the security agencies to quickly move into this matter and deal with it.
In as much as the actions of the gentleman has been condemned, there are also many people who say that no, he is right in what he said, because people come to emergency centers and instead of receiving emergency care, they're receiving delayed care. And when he put the camera on some of the patients who were there, they actually corroborated the claim he was making. And this could actually even be affirmed further by the recent surprise visit we've seen the health minister embark on, where he goes to the hospital OPDs and he meets people there and he gives orders for them to have expedited services. It is a problem that has to be dealt with despite the approach that was used. Don't you agree?
Omaro, if we decide to take the law into our own hands, go to a hospital, if you are not being given the best care or whatever we see that we decide to assault workers, it means that we are going to see a lot of this in our hospitals. What we are saying is that the attack was wrong. Whatever it is, we could have done this in circumspect. We could have exercised some restraint without exposing other staff who were there, without beating people up, without taking the laws into our own hands. You taking cameras. One of the workers who we met who was actually assaulted narrated a very horrifying story, the way he was assaulted. She was at work from morning to 8 p.m. because, weekends, the peculiar nature of Greater Accra Health Hospital, you have that particular incident, people just referring to the center. And they don't want to turn people away regardless of that situation, so they prefer to take care of them. Unfortunately, if we decide to just enter that place and assault people for no reason or whatever reason, we believe it's not the best. So we are condemning the attack and then go into the situation of the allegation regarding the delay, another issue that actually took place over the weekend.
You invited the police money to clear the place, but are you going to effect a request for an arrest, some further investigation that will lead to an arrest, or how does this end?
We don't have that power. We have only reported this case. We've asked the persons who were actually assaulted to report themselves to the police. Whatever action, procedure there is, the police will take it up from there.
Very well. But would you also learn lessons from this, and perhaps generally in all our health centers, you would work at expedited service, especially in emergency departments, because the story appears to be a story that many people agree with?
Umaru, you will recall that the minister went to Achimota of Anko, and it was one of the reasons that actually took the minister there for us to see how best we can speed up processes anytime we visit the hospital, which means that, yes, we have taken up action. We are ready to actually work in resolving that issue. So as we are resolving, we want the citizenry to support us to do that and not to go to the facilities and start beating people up. We have actually taken a notice of this situation and we are addressing it, as you may be aware.
So that was Tony Goodman. He speaks for the Ministry of Health, providing those details in that interview with Umar Sanda Amadou. He says he condemned the attack, first of all, and assured that a thorough inquiry will be conducted. I'm not sure if the issue has been reported to the police yet,
well,
because he says that
the security agencies have been asked to deal with it. As to the exact scope of their investigations, he didn't provide that clarity.
But he said that the victims of the said attack are encouraged to report to the police because they, as a ministry, do not have that authority to do so.
No, certainly. Well, I don't know if that's the true position he's articulated. But the ministry, as the supervising institution for that particular hospital, has every right to refer the matter to the police for investigations, because this facility belongs to the people of Ghana, and the supervising institution is the ministry responsible for health, which is about 400 meters away from where this very thing happened. You understand? So Ridge Hospital, you walk for about 400, 500 meters.
Yeah, the ministry.
The Ministry of Health is to the right, close to the National Health Insurance Authority.
Correct.
Now, look, let me speak clearly. I think the gentleman who led this effort, Ralph, has acted with the greatest respect, irresponsibly. And I will come to why. It is important for us to appreciate that, look, many of us take our wards, our family people, our friends' relations to the hospital. There are times we become frustrated when we see how nurses or doctors, deal
inertia.
Exactly, with them. It becomes very frustrating, especially when you send, people in pressing need of
emergency situations.
Exactly. Yes. It becomes really very frustrating. But those are bigger systemic issues that require robust actions at all levels to be able to deal with. And if you have concerns as to how you yourself are treated, or how a relation of yours is treated, there are processes that are laid down for you to engage in order to get the system to investigate. If the standards that were used there, in your case, do not meet the acceptable standards, it is possible for action to be taken against the officer or the officers involved in providing you with a healthcare service that is below, standard. The idea of moving into a hospital with a video camera, shouting at the top of your voice, commanding health professionals to do what you say they must do, it's completely unacceptable and irresponsible. It is not a model that we must encourage in this country. Now, we should understand the context of this particular matter and understand who we are talking about. This gentleman, I think they were at some point doing a demonstration to protest illegal mining, which we were all talking about. You remember that he is one of the guys you would have seen in a video, basically telling someone who was complaining about having access to 37 military hospital because, a relation was in trouble and needed to have some medical attention at that hospital. He was seen on television, on radio, or heard on radio, and on social media, telling the people that he used some really offensive word that the people who are in the hospital. He said something very derogatory, which attracted a lot of condemnation. He was among the people who were arrested for prosecution, blah blah blah. Some people think that he was heavy-handed and all of that. Government came in and they granted all of them amnesty in the form of the filing of nolle prosequi. With that background, I don't think that he should be involved in this matter. Of course, we are all against service quality that is poor service quality. We are all against it, and we pray every day that standards must increase across the country, and that when we pay our taxes, which go into funding these hospitals, we expect the best possible care from health professionals. But to deal with those problems is not, the approach used was completely unacceptable. First of all, we have something known as the right to privacy under Article 18 of the Constitution, which in itself protects patients who are in hospital. The fact that you are in a hospital receiving treatment doesn't mean that anybody can come in there with a camera and start filming. There are people who are there who don't want their conditions to be known to the world.
That's true.
There are people who are there who don't want themselves to be known to the world.
I saw people's faces, I saw their conditions in that video.
Exactly.
In his quest to as it were highlight what he felt was an injustice or poor service being meted out to him. There are
regulations, there are guidelines that go into how you film even in a hospital. You require, in some cases, the permission. In fact, in all cases, you require the permission of the hospital first of all. And if you are to speak to maybe a patient or all of that, you need a consent of even that patient to be able to speak to the person.
Because even for journalists, you don't just
walk into
a hospital with your cameras on and you're filming.
It is completely unacceptable.
No, it's not proper.
If you read the Public Health Act, Section 167, which adopts the which makes provision for the Patients' Charter of Ghana, also stresses the point that there is a requirement of privacy and the protection of the same for the data of the people who are in the hospitals receiving care, so that they can have their treatment in peace. What the gentleman did was a complete violation, in my respectful view, of the provisions of the Public Health Act and then also Article 18 of the Constitution. Furthermore, there is also the possibility that they may have assaulted, some of the people involved, because at least we've seen videos of some of the nurses wearing, at least one of them wearing what appears to be a band-aid or something like that.
We were told that
there are claims of verbal abuse and
physical assault.
Yeah.
And then also we are reading that a mobile phone cannot be found.
The mobile phone of one of the
nurses
cannot be found.
Yeah.
Again, if you
as a result is linked to that incident, I cannot confirm that. We are not confirming that, but we've read from accounts of some healthcare officials or officers. Yes.
If you read the criminal laws of our country, Act 29, for instance, specifically deals with matters having to do with assault. It deals with matters having to do with offensive conduct, which would seem to be one of the things in play here. If you read section 207 and then also the obstruction of a public officer in the performance of his duty. I mean, who are you to determine whether a doctor is acting properly or not? You don't have that competence or capacity. And we all can't walk into hospitals and start disturbing the patients there or the relations there as to how they are being treated or how they are not being treated.
That's dicey, isn't it? Because, I mean, as much as the manner in which the gentleman went about it is reprehensible, I mean, sometimes as citizens, I mean, we know it when we see good service. We don't have to be doctors or healthcare professionals to see whether a professional...
You don't know it.
No,
you don't know it.
Yeah.
You would assume.
Yes.
You suspect.
Yes.
That there is or there will seem to be a lack of good service.
Yes.
But I told you that.
And that assumption is on the basis of a certain frustration, because you are bringing a loved one to a health facility expecting the problem to be resolved immediately. But when you walk into a hospital, okay, they have the nurses use this term. They have this triage protocol.
Yes.
You don't just expect that once you enter, you are
given
given priority.
That's true.
So you have to respect, you have to comply with that.
That's true.
And so that's one thing.
Yes.
The second issue is that we have a crisis when it comes to is it doctor, nurse, or health worker ratio with the citizens. We have to appreciate that the nurses recently called off their strike.
Correct.
Okay, so there's that imbalance of the health staff as against the citizens they are giving care for. There are infrastructural challenges. We've heard of broken down MRI machines here and there, even in major hospitals.
And basic tools like gloves and all those things they need to be using.
Doctors have complained about spending their own money to buy gloves, etc.
That's true.
Our health system has an infrastructure problem.
Yeah.
It also has
logistics or supplies.
No supply problem, but what I'm talking about is human capital problem. So that you're expecting a certain customer service that you're not getting. So there are complaints about hospital staff being impolite, etc., etc. All of that is fair and good. That's the context we exist in. That's the problem with our health structure. My expectation from the health ministry will be to talk about, or the Minister of Health, to talk about some reform as to that effect, long-term solutions, not just what would appear, in my opinion, as public posturing. Now, in Sky, you have to finish your point.
So you
then let me land. I speak fewer words than you. So so in this context, it is certain that there's frustration. There's trust being eroded, etc. Trust of public institutions being eroded, etc. But that should not result in public disorder. That should not result in violating public order. Public order is necessary for society to function, for us all to function. Where somebody's right begins is where your right ends. And so taking the law into your own hands, it's unlawful. It's morally wrong. We've spoken about violating other people's privacy. I don't think that mob action is the way to go. And for me, this is also because of a certain inertia when it comes to public law enforcement, or generally law enforcement. We were here when a community led by, I believe, an assemblyman attacked an anti-Galamsey task force set up by the IGP. We drive every day and see how motorists disregard the red light and drive through the red light dangerously. For me, there's a growing public indiscipline, citizen indiscipline, and I don't think that sets the right tone for this country. Perfect. And I expect that the governors in their research agenda will address this problem.
Sky, so the point where, okay, let me let you finish.
Yeah. So
let me let you finish.
So
and then
on the point
about
the laws that I have cited,
yes,
including the
Article 18 Public Health Act, the Criminal Law Article
exactly,
29, and all of that.
Yeah, Act 29. I'll talk about
Act 29. Yes.
What I'm saying is that
yes,
the supervising ministry should not just tell us that they have referred the matter to the police or the security agencies to deal with it.
Investigation.
Look, yesterday we saw the gentleman. He came there to meet the minister.
Yeah.
I mean, in my respectful view, what the minister ought to have done was to have there and then ordered his arrest, so that there will be investigations, and if we find it worthy and evidence to back the same, that he acted in a way as to breach all these laws that I'm suspecting, then we put him before the courts.
Godfred indicated that there were about 3 or 4 police officers in the video while all of this was
scene was unfolding.
So I agree with Sky.
But there was some camaraderie and rapprochement between the minister and the young man when he got there.
And that is unfortunate for me. Of course, I understand that he must have gone there on a fact-finding mission.
Yeah.
But he was at the heart of what happened. Of course, at a certain point, I heard him urging, some of the agitated patients to calm down and all of that. Yeah. But it would seem that he played a central part in what happened. And if that is anything to go by, in my respectful view, apart from shaking hands and whatever interactions that may have gone on, the proper thing to have done would have been to refer him or cause his arrest there and then, so that we will get to the bottom of this particular matter. Because we don't want to be in a situation where people agree for whatever reason, will walk into hospital wards and start ordering doctors about, beating some of them in some cases, attacking nurses, and in some cases taking their properties away from them. Completely unacceptable. We cannot get to that point. Because if you have concerns, there are proper ways of dealing with that. And I'll take you through what you do in just 4 main points.
Sky, can I just add that a crime or several crimes have been committed just by watching this video. It will not be out of place to expect the police to speak to this matter, to tell us who has been arrested. People were verbally assaulted. Somebody, we understand one nurse was physically assaulted. People appearing as unruly individuals, walking into a hospital, shouting, causing all that commotion. We expect to hear the police on this matter. This is public disorder.
So it shouldn't require someone to report I think before that the police comes in.
Should go into this.
I see a huge conversation and also a fantastic opportunity for real searching reforms to take place. This is a fine opportunity for us to start engaging with reforms, because look, from the legal point, you've made the points very eloquently, and that's established. Now, from the point of consumers, those who go to hospitals and expect to get health care service, look, we've had several stories, and sometimes even the healthcare practitioners themselves complain about the terrible attitude of most of their colleagues, the poor infrastructure, the lack of basic supplies, and even sometimes the theft of the supplies that are provided. So as much as the supplies may not be enough, some are in cahoot with colleagues, and they are stealing some of these things. The same hospital that this is coming up, though, has surfaced interestingly in the past, where every morning we see headlines in the papers, the head complaining about some of his officials, doing some conicorous things. They're charging so much for lab tests, and so people should go to specific private hospitals to get some tests done. They don't see receipts, they don't get details, pay so much, end up getting very little. So there's a real frustration, and people are not finding adequate ways to vent that. I am in no way justifying what Ralph has done. That's very far from it. So I want listeners to listen to me very objectively. I'm saying that avenues for remedies, when people feel that they have suffered medical negligence or some poor service, it's not really ventilated properly. And a lot of the times when you seek to go through the courts to report some of these things, there are ample stories we've covered that shows families and the frustrations they've gone through pursuing the legal process for justice for so many years, and sometimes they have this kind of feeling, justified or otherwise, that the authorities who supervise these people, who are supposed to call them to order, shield them from justice. So it's a very holistic conversation that we are trying to have.
Exactly.
That we have no right to go to a public health or any health facility and go and do what you saw over the period, but then the people also legitimately feel some inertia and I don't know, occasioned by a mix of all kinds of things that we've mentioned on this table.
I think you are on point with all the problems you have enumerated with our health system, and I articulated that point much earlier, that we are all frustrated with that. But you see, the way to address that is not to introduce chaos.
Absolutely.
At some point during my life as a journalist, I was deeply involved in the health space, doing a lot of coverage. There was one story that I covered, which was a documentary that went on to win awards here and there. We call it Losing Baby VAR, which investigated how Ghanaian couple based in Canada came to Ghana, received care at one of our leading hospitals for them to have a baby, and some way, somehow, in the course of that, they lost their baby. And it became a major national issue. Ultimately, it ended up in the courts, and some legal, judicial pronouncements have been made on how patients should be treated at hospitals and what they are entitled to by way of information and related matters.
Correct.
You can if you are a lawyer interested in the space, you can Google baby VAR and you can and then versus Leicester Hospital.
What about us journalists?
But the point I'm making is that all these things you are talking about, there are procedures for addressing them. First, you make report or complaint to the internal structures of the hospital. So if it is Leicester Hospital and you went there and your relation was treated poorly, the way to address your concerns is to approach the appropriate complaints unit and report to the unit. File a complaint that, look, you came here on so and so date. You received poor service in your view, and that the matter ought to be investigated. If you find that for some reason the hospital is unwilling to deal with this matter, you can escalate them to the Ghana Health Service, the patient complaint unit. File a complaint with them. And if you are minded, you can circulate the complaint to the media, so that we can also put pressure on the Ghana Health Service to be able to do the right thing. If you, you don't find that the Ghana Health Service is the appropriate institution to deal with this matter, you can also deal with the Health Facilities Regulatory agency. Otherwise, you go to the Medical and Dental Council, which then would also come in and deal with the specific health or the medical officer who dealt with you on the subject matter in issue, because they regulate the doctors and related health professionals in the space. And if it is a midwife or the nurses, then you deal with the
unregistered nurses.
And the midwifery council as the case may be. So the procedure for engaging the institutions relevant for dealing with these matters is clear. If you are in doubt, you can always seek for direction as to how it should be done. If you don't engage the process and you think that the way to addressing it is to pull out your camera, move into hospital wards and be filming patients who are receiving care, imposing emotional distress on them, that is unlawful. It is uncalled for. It is irresponsible. And I insist that the relevant institutions of state have got to act and bring the people responsible to book. We are not happy with service delivery across the country in many ways. But we also appreciate that there are many doctors. Some of them have to run 36 hours. I have friends in the hospital who are running shift for 36 straight hours. The only time they get to get a nap is some 30 minutes or so. They are back working. Overworked yet underpaid. Nurses are also going through the same thing. Many other health professionals working in the space are going through the same thing. They also have a life.
That's true.
They also have a life. So yes, we expect the best possible quality there is for health service delivery. But where things go wrong, the way to deal with it is not what the gentleman did, and he has to be. He and the people responsible would have to be held accountable.
The many messages. I want to hear Godfred on this matter. I should read messages, right? Okay, let's get to it. It's quite an emotive topic, and rightly so. Caleb and team, this is the same guy who stopped cars from entering the 37 military hospital during the Fix the Country demo in September last year. When he was confronted by patients trying to enter the hospital, he responded, okay, you provide that response, we cannot share. You share the meaning as well. Let's not tolerate violence and unruly behavior in the name of activism, no matter what activism it may be. Yao, send that from Berlin. Thank you, Yao. Good to hear from you. The major problem in our hospitals is understaffing. The doctor to patient ratio is very great, and same applies to nurses. Do you know someone who studies biological sciences or biochemistry that's qualified to work in the laboratory, which has made many people who completed school from 2013 not to be employed by the health sector? Okay, you articulate the point that Francisca made early on. I disagree with Sky. Why can't we see every patient as a relative and do what we do for a relative and treat them as such? We have challenges in the health department and some shortfalls, but believe me, the laziness, and I don't care about some of our stuff. I do not care. Okay, attitude about some of our stuff should be looked at holistically. Okay. DJ Nature, thank you. Good morning, Sky and team. Caleb and team. Sky, you are my guy any day and every day, but I beg to differ on this particular argument of yours. You're right about the manner in which the guy went about things, but as far as this country is concerned, especially government hospitals, I have personal experiences. I do not do government hospitals any longer. I only go there only when there is a reason. That is prior to my personal experience. And as they say in Chi and Towa, not to justify their actions, though, Sky, many complaints have been filed, but they won't mind you. That's why we have to resort to this. That's not justification. You didn't add your name. If there are more messages,
and should we
we'll
all
share them.
resort to this? What kind of society will we be living in? We walk into the hospital and everybody is shouting and jumping.
And there's a lot of chaos.
Attacking somebody.
That's very problematic. So many more messages. We'll be bringing them to you. 0549986996. Says, Godfrey, the minister showed up. The minister was there. Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Akando was there. There was a video showing him with Ralph, the activist, in a very warm embrace.
They had a courteous exchange.
Exactly. And I just want to get your thoughts on this, the whole brouhaha of
But just quickly before Godfrey comes, should we be describing him as an activist in this context?
I mean, I'm referring to him as easily as he's easily recognized. Okay. I don't think in the case of yesterday, what was seen was activism in a straight sense of the word. I don't know, but Godfred, let's hear your thoughts on this one.
Doesn't entitle you to break the law.
Exactly that's what I'm saying.
So even if you're an activist, you have to behave responsibly
within the confines of the law in the process of activism.
We can always claim that we're activists and come into this studio and slap everybody because they have said something that you don't like. Is that what we want to encourage in this country?
No, slap gives me PTSD. So you don't take your time for me. Take your time for me.
That's a good one. But here's the thing for me, and it's the reason why I preach certainty of institutions. You see, most of the time people don't understand me when I say we must push for a country where everybody knows what this institution does, and that institution knows its role and works all the time. When we push ad hoc solutions as the way of getting responses, this is what we get.
What do you mean?
What I said is not very difficult to understand, Caleb. What I mean is, we have created a system, Sky outlined this. If all the things that he has outlined there, you can report to this person, you can report to that, you can report to that, are things we have strengthened. Everybody knows exactly what to do in what situation. If you feel, you see, because people tend to make assumptions about people's jobs. And clearly, emotions do get in the way of those things. There are people who think our jobs are very easy. Until they come to sit here. I get it all the time. And the nature of modern media means that we have even been rendered more useless, where people think that everybody can do what I do. It's okay.
Yeah.
But if there were a proper system, you go to other countries, you cannot do what I do. Why? So I'll give you a typical example just to highlight this.
Sure.
When I moved to Kenya, in order to practice, I had to attend an interview. I needed to be certified and licensed to work, because I'm being paid a salary, I'm being paid tax, I'm working for a media house. I needed to be accredited in order to attend certain stage functions. You can't just show up. So they know where I am, who I am, where I work, and all those things. And it was the same for all my colleagues. So there weren't that many. You can't just get up and say, I am a journalist. You know? And it's the same. So there's certainty of what? Process and practice. We don't have that here. So everybody does what he or she wants to get an outcome.
That's wrong.
Which is the society Francisca described, that if one day everybody will just show up and say, hey, I'm feeling this way, do this for me, do this for me. Is that how we want things to be done? So if you follow that path, then you understand that this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Which is why it should not even happen. I am not a big fan of the outrage baiting Ralph does. And that is what he does. There are moments it has served people well. So they will say, it is okay. There are moments it hasn't served people well. And the thing is this, there will always be somebody at the end who doesn't enjoy that, what happens. But is it sustainable? You see, because you walk into a hospital. Just this weekend, I was discussing one such hospital with somebody in my house and saying, look, the person was complaining about a process of that kept a colleague in the hospital for almost the entire day. The person made the complaint to me. We put two and two together and reached out to somebody in a position of responsibility.
Right.
But that is me knowing who to go to and what to do to try and resolve. Many people don't.
Exactly.
And there isn't a belief that if people do that, they will get the kind of results that they are looking for with the speed and timeliness. So people resort to Ralphism.
Yes.
You know, but it is not the right thing to do. Because if perhaps he had also understood, and that is why an activist is also an educated person. You see? Because we sometimes tend to equate activism with rowdiness. With saying that an activist, an effective activist is the one who breaks the law. It is not true. Some of the most effective activists out there pick their moments.
You don't necessarily have to be disruptive.
You know? But you cannot let your entire pattern of operation be
rowdiness.
You are a societal disruption. You can say that is what you set out to be, but I find that it's not sustainable. Again, after a point, what will you do? You are just going to get yourself into trouble, which is the position he might find himself in if Ridge Hospital decides. Because you see, in saying that this is what should be done, this is what should be done. If he's sticking to a hearing and they say, do you understand how an ER works? He will say, no, I saw the people lying there, nobody was paying attention. Okay. They put up a chart and say, this person had received this treatment at this time. And so we felt the person was stable. We had moved on to person B. We were in the process of doing this to person B. We're in the process of doing this to person C. Every one of those people has a relative who is feeling aggrieved at that moment. Who is emotionally stressed because they wish that perhaps they are the sole focus of attention. But there is nobody who is the sole focus of attention in any hospital anywhere. Particularly in an emergency room. In an emergency room, the most attention you get from a doctor is based on the doctor's assessment of the seriousness of your situation. None of us are skilled enough to make that assessment, no matter how much we think we know. I can raise a lot of challenges towards a doctor, but in the end, by the time the doctor is done, I might be saying, yeah, what did I just do? It doesn't mean the doctors are right. But the point I'm trying to make is we must figure out how these things work. Which is why I raised the points the other time when the minister went to the north and did what he did there. And said, would he have been happy if the same thing had been done in his workspace? We must learn to respect expertise a bit. Mm-hmm. You see, because what we tend to do is then poo-poo the expertise of these persons. And like I said, clearly there are deficits. But expertise is expertise. Mm. The application of it, we can have an issue with. Mm. But the person knows what he or she is doing at that time.
And we must respect people
and
in that space.
I hope that, because I've seen a subsequent video of the gentleman where he looked a bit more calm. He had gone to another hospital of his choice, because he said that if he went back to that hospital, he was not sure that he would receive proper treatment. So he had gone to a hospital of his choice and was very calm and sitting down and was fist bumping. He had found an ideal environment to deal with his situation. You understand? But on that day, what you do not know is that your actions might have even led to somebody, one person somewhere, getting in a far worse state. You might not know. You understand? You will not know. You will think you are highlighting the troubles of the people to the world. But at that point, your actions might cause that one person in some corner within that hospital. Yeah. You will not know.
Yeah. So
for me, in summing up, the outrage baiting that he's on, this, I personally am not a big fan of most of what we call activism, here, because there's almost always some level of personal interest attached, and so I am very, very particular about who I hail as an activist. You see, because in this country, today you are saying this, tomorrow that person, and
interests are many.
Principles and morals are all over, including mine. I'm not innocent. So because of my uncertainty about myself, I don't equate any level of principle or morality to anybody else. You understand?
Yeah.
So I hope he behaves himself a bit.
Yes.
The next time he has an opportunity and figures out other ways to make his case. That's all I will say.
Fantastic. More messages are in, and we'll bring you some of them. But of course, it goes to reveal also the sheer workload that the sector minister and his people responsible for that sector also have to do in order to make healthcare delivery services much more excellent than we have it. The people should also feel that when they have issues and they go to the health facilities, they will be attended to and they receive, excellent services as our own compatriots who go elsewhere and deliver. The issues and the challenges, the context within which we have discussed this are still very real, and it's not enough for the minister to once a while show up in one hospital and say, oh, this queue is long, let's try and do something about it, or the kind of engagements we are seeing. More far-reaching reform is needed in our healthcare service, so that if you go to the hospital, it shouldn't matter who you are. People shouldn't feel that based on what they get easy access to either a bed or something. You're referring to baby VAR, and I recall also filing the report on the no bed syndrome thing some couple of years ago. A 70-year-old man died because from one hospital to another, he goes to 7 major hospitals in Accra and he's told there is no bed. I mean, the level of frustration is real. So we need to address the infrastructural issues. And while we are at it, there are so many healthcare officials who are done with school and just sitting home idling. And all these people are still not yet employed. So while there is overstaffing and understaffing and underpayment in the hospitals, there are so many others too who are unemployed. And now we say we want to export them to Barbados and wherever where there is so much need in our country, and a lot of our very skilled professionals are also leaving. We must really reset the healthcare sector. And Honorable Kwabena Mensah Kando, if you are listening, you have more work to do. A lot of work to do. There are many messages here. Let's Kakra help us with them.
Okay, and Mr. Bright in Abokobi says, I will be very surprised if authorities sit down and look on without getting this man arrested. Hello, team. Instead of the authorities getting him arrested, you are shaking hands with him to embolden him. What kind of country is this? If we do not nip this in the bud, the next place might be a security zone and we might not like the outcome. Ghana. Well, this person says the incident at the Rage Hospital was very unacceptable. But please, the way people get handled by some health staff is disheartening. You can imagine watching a loved one being watched to die in the hands of unconcerned practitioners. You can snap and lose your sense of sanity. You would act to get the person saved. Let's pray we never find ourselves in that situation. I'm a health worker, but I'm scared of the negligence of my own system. Oto in Abeka sent that one. Kafui in Majon says, Sky, as usual, you have delivered verdict on the irresponsible behavior of this so-called Ralph guy. Good morning, Caleb and team. Sky, what do you do when you try to engage a doctor about a patient or relative's condition and he tells you I'm busy, but later comes to engage you when the unfortunate happens? Hello, guys. I agree with Sky a lot on this matter. Even abroad, ambulances queue to get their cases seen at the ED. People are just eager to blame nurses for things which are not their fault, but these same nurses, when they travel to the USA and the UK, are hailed for their job work done. That guy should be arrested for breaches of privacy and assault on health professionals. It's high time the Minister for Health sat up. That's Kwame in Liverpool.
Let me just say that while we are talking about this issue of health professionals, the service quality, and then also the concerns over what happened at Ridge Hospital. Nigeria is facing a major crisis as we speak in the health area. I was reading this story yesterday, but DW Africa just posted it, that a new report by Smart DNA Nigeria has revealed that 1 in 4 paternity tests in the country returns a negative result, fueling what many now describe as a paternity crisis.
1 in 4?
1 in 4. Now, the 2025 annual DNA testing report shows that 25% of tests between July 2024 and June 2025 confirmed presumed fathers were not biologically related to the children. Now, most requests came from men, nearly half aged 41 and above. Now, children under 5 accounted for the majority of cases, reflecting growing demand for early clarity and avoiding conflicts later in life. Now, most strikingly, 64% of firstborns, especially boys, were found not to be biologically related to their presumed fathers, a rate far higher than that of later born siblings, and is attractive. A post just went up on DW Africa's Facebook page. I was reading this story elsewhere on a platform, with a global platform I share with some other people, and it is a concerning situation. Perhaps we would have to look at the Ghanaian context, because
this is specifically Nigeria. 1 in 4.
1 in 4.
5%.
Yeah, that's right. That's a serious matter.
Oh my God!
And these things wreak havoc at home They create problems because imagine looking after a child you believe was yours for 25 years, educated her up to Gimpa, University of Ghana, Cape Coast, later Oxford.
You find out that
Charlie, and you find out later that you may have, and sometimes the problem may not well be that the woman was unfaithful.
Exactly.
It may well be the negligence of the health professional who may have handled the situation, probably swapped one baby for the other.
Because I was going to ask that for this 1 in 4, is it that the DNA is tested on the mothers to also verify whether or not the kids are both not for their dads and their mothers presumed?
The report doesn't explain that, but that is also an important caveat. But from the way it's presented, it would seem that there may well have been some conclusive evidence that these are not the biological fathers of the children. But the truth is also that many of our women also sometimes do some of these things.
Did you say many?
Many, yes, sometimes many.
And you came to
I'll leave this to Francisca. Yes,
many. I didn't say most. Many. I mean, I've dealt with cases. Many.
Francisca, talk to us.
You want me to say some?
Yes.
Sam, okay. If you that would serve your purpose.
Thank you.
But what is happening? Is there anything we should know
about
on this particular story?
No, I think it's an interesting research. I just think that it's important. What Sky did was important to put out the various the potential reasons, not just limiting it to perhaps infidelity on the part of the mothers. Yeah, that's really it.
And also, you see, at the point I was talking to at least 2 people who had said that they have had to do that in order to satisfy in-laws that they could bear children, after repeatedly telling their in-laws that the problem may not well be coming from the women. You understand? So then, in one of these cases, the man had refused to go and see. So the woman had repeatedly seen a doctor. The doctors cleared her that, look, the guy said, no, you don't have any problem. In your condition, you should be able to have baby without any problem. Bring the man over so that we can look into, investigate and see whether the problem is coming from his side. For some reason, the man adamant. Didn't want to go. They did everything possible. He wouldn't go because, according to the man, he had prior issue elsewhere. So that would have been evidence of his competence to be able to perform in that space. Forgive my use of these words, just to clamor. So he insisted that, look, I am not the problem. So he refused to go. The woman was also under pressure from the in-laws that, look, if you can satisfy the requirement of producing a child, then we probably will force you out of this house, and then that will mean that we'll get somebody else for the man to marry. In the process, she found a way out, which was to go and get a donor, and in this case went into someone's facility and got what's the name, sperm donor, and then did this, and it's become an issue. And some of these things get exposed not because the men want to go and investigate. You want to travel outside the country, and then in America, when you're going to America these days, some of the demands they make will be that you should produce evidence of compatibility. And if you cannot produce that, it becomes a problem. So I think it's an area that we should look into and try and separate the issues. Which one is accountable for infidelity? Which one
is medical negligence and baby swap or something like that? There's a message here from someone we know closely. You made a really important point, Caleb, about avenues for remedy after medical negligence. An uncle died earlier in the month from a botched surgery at a hospital. Because the family doesn't know how to pursue, it's now a Fama Nyame case. No one knows how to seek easy redress after clear negligence. Hospitals even also falsify death certificate sometimes. You know, I have been close to a particular story in one of the big hospitals here where the family felt wrongly done by some high-ranking surgeons. I mean, they found the whole process to be not to be transparent. The engagements, the demands for money, and the payments to some sources, and even the receipts being different from the institution where they're having the surgery or the operation done. After everything else, things go south, and when you're seeking redress, you go to court and it takes you so long. You know, sometimes some of the family live abroad, they have to come and go. So the legal process for redress in situations of medical negligence is also very cumbersome, Sky. And I honestly think that something must be done so people have enough confidence that when they go to the hospital and in an event they suspect some foul play, they can get redress and so done in a timely manner. Because a lot of families, I can say, I don't have evidence, but I dare say that this is not the first, this is not the last. There are a good number of families who feel wrongly done by and have just given up out of frustration because they don't have the financial wherewithal, on top of the emotional distress they are going through, having lost loved ones, to pursue legal, redress.
Well, you see, you've raised a very important point, and that is why we must appreciate that your output is an input for some other institution to be able to do its work.
Correct.
As we have already stated, there are so many levels of inefficiency within the public health system.
Yeah.
And even if you go to the private hospitals too, there are so many levels of inefficiency. But it is said that they are sort of better. So the service quality there would seem to be better compared to what happens generally in the public hospital. That's what people say. I don't have the evidence to back that. But I think it's important that the same problems we see within the health system, they are in another shape and form within the judiciary.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
I can tell you about land cases that sometimes take 30 years to resolve, sometimes 40 years to resolve, sometimes 15 years to resolve. Common debt collection issues sometimes even travel so many years. By the time that you finish, the amount of money that you are collecting becomes meaningless. There are people who are accused of committing one crime or the other, who spend years on remand without getting a resolution to the matter in good time. And we are aware of the often quoted phrase or the sentence that justice delayed is justice denied. I agree with all of that. What we can do is to insist on the public institutions responsible for these spaces doing their very best to transform their spaces so that it would not take 5 years to resolve a matter involving somebody's alleged murder. It will not take, 10 years to resolve a matter having to do with alleged medical negligence. Because these are matters that should be resolved in good time so as to bring closure to the people involved. At every level, we demand efficiency in service delivery. You understand? What we should not encourage, imagine someone says that, the son was, allegedly killed by another man, and anytime they go to court, the judge is adjourning the case, or the lawyers are playing what sometimes they call tricks, and therefore let him go there with a gun and do an irresponsible act. Is that what we would encourage? No, we cannot encourage that. You understand? It is the worst of exampple to cite. But it is similar to what we saw at the hospital.
The logic.
Exactly. I'm just receiving, a message from, Dr. Marco. One of the finest brains we've had in this country, runs so many institutions, including our educational space. Talking about how service delivery to our own Ghanaians compared to what happens to foreigners appears to be an issue. So, except in a few banks, for instance, she says, service delivery, even in commercial outlets, is so poor. Most employees, especially in the public sector, our assemblies, need in-service training on customer relations. So, for instance, she tells me about an experience she had recently going to the Adenta Municipal Assembly to pay her taxes, plus report some issues to the assembly. And until she saw the MCE, the people who should have acted were sort of being lackadaisical over the matter.
Sky, a lot of the times, until people know you, their response to service is so subpar. And it really worries me. It cuts across not just the health sector. I mean, we're moving on from this thing and just focusing on the quality of service we enjoy. Look, when we're happy about anything, we go all out and we talk about it. But I think this is a part of us that we really may need to look into. Look, Godfred, honestly, look, there are many times that you go to offices, whether it's government, it's private, or someone's business they are running, and I'm coming to pay you for a service. Look, I'm the reason you are there. Even if you don't care about me, it is my money. My money is why you are there. You claim to have a service or a product that I want. That's why I've come there. But they treat you like you don't matter until someone comes and says, oh, it is you. Oh, fine. Then suddenly they change. It happens with the police. It happens with...
Because you took them.
Oh, it cuts across. Yes. Do you understand? So if the people don't know you, oh, Massa, you can spend the whole day there. And that is a part of the Ghanaian malaise that really, really troubles me. Really, really troubles me. Our service delivery... I can't be honestly. I can't be
It's not going to change anytime soon, is it?
Fine.
Because it's the same people who are there, right? But we've had conversations about how to make these systems more efficient. We've gone back and forth over decades now on just trying to improve these systems. We've seen some of the state organizations take this up. So we spoke about DVLA back in the day. I don't know if it's still the same. I haven't been there. You know, people talk about...
they have been improving.
If you go to the passports, like the digital center here, you know, they've been able to improve their services. But I ask myself one thing. The private sector seems to have found a way to improve most of, and by that I mean the large ones, you know, not because, for instance, back in the day, if you went to a bank, you would sit there and what you hear is next. These days, you go, they tell you, type in this. You get a ticket. You sign digitally. Then the system calls you D115. Teller 2. That system has what? Improved. What does that mean? It's sped up the system. Whilst you are on the floor, most of the time you find these young men and women who move in between the halls. Oh, do you need help? You've been here a bit long. What can we do? You understand? So you find that with a lot of these companies, they found ways to improve. It's not perfect, but over the years they found ways to improve the customer experience.
And they've also segmented the market.
Exactly.
So you like this, they will give you premium service.
No, I would.
Already has a relationship with
let's
have to go there.
If you sign up for that, you understand. If you sign up for that,
which is what you're on. That's what Sky is trying to establish.
Yes, I am with the people.
He has left the people. He has left us in the struggle.
I have not left the people, please. When it comes to these things, I am very much with the people.
So I know you are with us.
Yes, I'm with you. You understand? What the organizations that we are looking at, so hospitals and the rest, have not done is to be able to import these practices
of excellence
into their operations. So if you went to the Lands Commission, for instance, today, what is the process of stating what you are coming to do there, who you are going to see? A system that is devoid of a human being looking up from it, because those systems are timed. They know that within a 2 or 3 minute period, you should have been able to deal with one person and move on. Okay, but for some reason, the state institutions have proven resistant
to change
to these improvements that seem to have occurred quite nicely in the private sector, and that is what we need to uncover. Why the state is averse to importing these good practices. So if you went to a hospital, for instance, some of the private hospitals have found ways to even improve that service. Again, you go there, they will tell you, it's digital. You do this, you do that, you do that.
The records are digitized.
Yeah, if you've been to any of the SNIT hospitals, I mean, the experience is quite different for some of them. Not all of them, for some of them.
But Godfrey, just to add, some public hospitals, I recently went to Kolebu.
Yes.
And I was asked to do a digital ID card. And I didn't spend more than 10 minutes. It took me about, 10-15 minutes to see a doctor. And I spent, barely 20 minutes with a doctor. So I think that some public health institutions are doing some good work.
We need more of those. Then it needs to become the norm.
Yeah,
it will take away most of these things. It also gives you a fallback when you have to file a complaint.
Yeah.
Because if I'm filing a complaint, what time did I show up? I showed up here at 3.
Yes.
This is my ticket. It shows that I was here at 3. I was supposed to have been taken care of by this time. Rather than what we have where it's you versus some manager or somebody, which turns into a shouting match, all those things.
Yeah, it's a conversation that we'll continue to have. We'll continue to hammer this until we get the system overhauled and improved for the love of the country.